Begin takeoff procedure.
This is episode 102 of the Gold Squadron podcast. I'm your host, Dion Morales, and today I'm joined by Justin Brown. Justin, this is where you say something.
Hello.
Panic. What do I say, right?
Pretty much.
And William Dion chose to joust me on accident, Hegwood.
Fire up those shells. Another round of shots. Turn down for what?
So this week we're going to be talking about the Cedar Rapids hyperspace trial that a bunch of Gold Squadron members were at. We're also going to be talking about the update to the hyperspace format, some Adepticon prep talk, and the Worlds format announcement. Before we do that, we need to announce that squad leaders are already starting to receive the latest Patreon swag. I got some pictures from people and some messages saying, Dion, this looks so good. I'm saying, thank you so much. Thank you so much. So if you're a squad leader, that should be getting here literally like any day now. If you're in the U.S., if you're abroad, obviously it's going to take a little longer. Followed by aces, followed by the vets, and so on and so forth. So thank you all for your support. And thank you to our new patrons, Justin, Chad, Rory, Pete, Jennifer, Richie, and Lysander. Thank you so much for your support, and welcome to our largest group of supporters. Let's go ahead and jump right into our first topic. We're talking about the Cedar Rapids hyperspace trials. Justin, what was your role there, my friend?
I was a judge there.
Judge?
My first, I'll say, experience with a bigger event. I've run some local things, and it's definitely an eye-opening experience, but pretty fun.
All right, so we had about 35 players? Is that right?
I think it was 36.
36. All right. So maybe we talk about what we ran. Let's start there. William.
I took Wat Tambor in a Bulba lab. I put the new faction-specific talent, Treacherous, on him, and I put Kraken, which is a tactical relay. And then I matched him up, that good calculating synergy, with 6 Trade Federation drones, all with energy shells.
All right. And we also had, we had a bunch of people there, right? So it was myself when I was running Naked Dutch, Wedge and Luke with just S foils, and the Partisan U-Wing with Leia and Tactical Officer, very similar to what Matt Carey ran and won with in Murray. Where was I? Murray, Kentucky. The week before, both William and I had been running Wedge, Luke, and Lando. And, he had that little spin on it. Like, we know that the 2 X-Wings are good. Just having Luke and Wedge there, like, hey, let's give that a shot. And it turned out that it was a lot of fun to play. Yeah, so who else was there?
Pretty good with it.
Yeah, I had top 4. Not too shabby. I had fun. We also had Marcel there, who unfortunately couldn't be here tonight. He's, as he said, making that cheddar right now. He has a tight deadline for work he had to be working on. So, but he also ran some Separatist stuff. I'll let him talk about it at a later date. We had him. We had Brandon, Nate, Blaine, Kayla, Allie. I'm missing some people. Francois. There you go, Francois. So just a ton of people. And out of those people, we had 10 people from Gold Squadron total. 7 out of the 10 left with dice. 5 of us were in the top 8. 3 of us were in the top 4, and then 1 of us was in the final. But before we jump into all that, Justin, what were some, maybe, you got to see all the tables, right? You got to see everybody playing. You got to see the majority of the lists. What were some maybe patterns that you saw on the list? How much diversity did you notice? Because obviously, we were playing. We didn't really get to see all that stuff.
So I would say overall what I saw was a lot of diversity. It looked like Separatists were doing fairly well. Saw Will doing it with his list. To me, it was really interesting. It looked like it was pretty strong. And again, Marcel had another separatist list that looked pretty strong, but from my standpoint, it looked like the Republic was actually fairly weak. I saw a couple of lists out there, but neither of them did very well. And of course, we still had our standard. We had some Rebel Swarms that did pretty well. Your standard Imperial Thai Salad, I saw a couple of those doing pretty well. So, again, a pretty diverse meta. I think our top 4 was 4 totally different factions, which was pretty awesome.
Yeah, that was fantastic. I had a great time. I got to play against a bunch of lists, except for I'll talk about it was my round 4 was against Nate. I was undefeated up until then. Round 4 comes in, and Nate was running Bastion, Poe, Lulo, and Tally. And I'm gonna tell you, man, when an X-wing with 2 agility decides to be like, you know what, let's just roll evades all the time, and the Bastion refused to die. Let me put it that way. Refused to die. And you ask Nate, if you ask Nate, you tell him, he would tell you, Dion had me in that game. That there's one point I was able to do this super nasty block with the U-wing where I had one more turn before Leia was recharged, and I was stressed, and I did a hard 2 towards the board edge and blocked his Poe that was trying to run away, and his face was amazing. His face like I didn't see it coming. It was great. Next turn, Leia was charged, flipped the U-wing around, everything was fine. But that was probably one of my favorite moments. But then in round 5, to get into the cut, I play Randy, who had the exact same list, but this time Bastion died. So I killed Poe, and then Bastion was dead. So I was really happy about that. What were
to say one thing that I noticed that was really interesting is we actually had, I don't remember what round it was, but Nate ended up playing the eventual winner.
Yep.
And he managed to win the game with flying his ship off the board before meaningful engagement happened. That's very impressive.
Yeah, Nate's really good. He can play when he's
Give a shout out
focused.
to him for that. That's for sure.
Oh yeah. Yeah, so overall, like I would say, besides the top 4 game, which Will and I, let's save that for a little bit because I think that's going to be quite entertaining to talk about. Will, what were some of your other highlights?
Let's see. So, trying to think of this game. Because I played against 5 SFs, which was very surprising. I was like peeking on him. Isaac played on stream round 1, so I got to like see the list and see a little bit of his game, but I wasn't quite sure how that would go down. And it turns out when turrets can initiative kill you, it's pretty bad. Actually, I think. Probably one of my tougher games was the it's Poe and 3 A-wings. Oh man, I forget the guy's name. I talk to him all the time. It's like Dustin or Justin maybe.
Randy?
No. Man, I apologize to the guy, but anyways, I forget his name. But he was my top 4 or top 8 opponent. And yeah, he was playing Poe and 3 Ace, and I had to. Normally, I keep my formation very blocky, like very, like firing line style. But with those 3 A-wings and Poe, I needed to spread out a little bit more, so I could try to catch somebody in the net. And there's I had a 1 health vulture, had weapons failure. And it was no matter what maneuver it did, even if it hard won, just where the positioning was, it would land on a big rock right in front of it. So I had nowhere to go, and I didn't want to risk flying onto the rock. So I just kept hard wanting to the inside and basically not being able to move because there was always a ship right inside of me. But because I did that, and he didn't expect or he assumed that I would be moving because ships move in this game normally.
Normally, you're
normally, but I was just like, you're at 1 health, dude. Like, I don't care, just don't hit the rock, whatever that situation is. And he actually ended up getting a block on Lulu, and then he was in the perfect spot for Poe tried to disengage with a 3 forward, and Poe ran into him as well. Oof. And that little guy ended up surviving. Did pretty good job out there. I don't know. I would just say that my overall impressions of the vultures is while their stats aren't very good, they're pretty resilient to taking like 2 or 3 shots on them, because they should always have an extra focus modifier, and that's not something I really calculated in. I know. I did calculate the probability that, you know, I would always have like at least 1 or 2 focuses for each shot on me, because I had Kraken, so I had 3 extra ones, and I was doing some tricky stuff with Watt to where Watt was taking the Kraken calculate, and then the vultures could actually share from Watt as well. They could steal his calculate action that he took. And that made them, I mean, if you roll a couple blanks, if you watch the final, I roll 5 straight blanks in a row, and it cost me 2 of my vultures. If you do end up rolling some eyeball results, those things end up being pretty resilient over time.
Yeah, I was just saying that as the podcast is going, I'm actually exporting all the videos right now, and they'll be going out over this week. And yeah, that final is kind of brutal.
Oh yeah, I let myself get surrounded, which is bad. I was talking to Justin about this. That I went into the middle of the board, thinking I could get a 7-on-1 engagement with one of his ships, and I thought that the only ship I could do that, get that 7v1 engagement, was Tavinson. Which is not great, because Tavinson can take modifiers for his attack and be able to reinforce them as well. So not great. But then I misjudged that opening, and all 3 of his ships got shots instead of just the 1 I was hoping for. So not a great start to that game, and couldn't finish it off. Though it was doing some good work though. Those Ewings, or not Ewings, Upsilons are tough though. That's what Brad said. I mean, they're so resilient to swarms because of that reinforce, and you have 2 of them, so there's 24 health behind reinforce. Just sucks. But he was like you said, Brad, who ended up winning. By the way, the winner was Brad Stryzik from Dubuque, flying Kylo. Dubuque.
I said spoiler alert.
Oh well. That's okay. It's all right.
Well, you can find out how he ends up winning, but yeah, he just had 2 Upsilons and Kylo, and it sounded like he was struggling against the other aces list, like you said, Nate. Nate beat him with his aces build, and Francois was giving him real run for his money at the top 4.
It was really close. They came down to less than 20 points, something like that.
Yeah, it came down to, could Vader roll 3 paint or 2 paint? Vader had to keep a shield, and he didn't. So they cost Francois like 35 points or something in the last round, which cost him the game. So that's a close game. Like, last shot of the game was the deciding factor. So, but that's, man, we're in when you're facing good lists like that, especially aces, every shot matters.
Oh yeah. And now I want to transition to just a tad bit talking about our top 4 game, Will.
What you've had time to reflect.
I have. So I had a lot of fun editing our game, because I
edited it.
I did. I put some choice captions.
Oh. Can you hear us talking?
No, yeah, you could hear us talking. So basically, what happened is I won the roll off. Okay, I had a decision, and those vulture droids are initiative 1, and my U-wing is also initiative 1. And basically, right at the beginning of our game, I basically lost the game when I decided to take first player. I was like, "Oh, well, I could take my initiative."
To your credit, you're bringing the partisan instead of this scout for blocking at I1.
Right, exactly. But here's the problem. Here's the problem, Internet. When I took the first player, I was like, all right, I have committed to blocking. That was my plan. But I didn't process the fact that jousting this swarm was a bad idea. Going face to face was a bad idea. And then once I already realized that, and the rocks were set, and I was like, oh crap, this is a bad idea. You hear me talking about it. Mistakes were made. I then set up on a corner of the board, giving William a beautiful lane, just like he had all the space he needed to do his work in there, and even continued the downward spiral by meeting him in more open space rather than going like slow rolling it and letting him come to where it was a little bit tighter of a gap. So I would watch that game and learn how not to how to lose a top 4 game. I think it's valuable.
I think you had the right strategy, because if you can come in there with all of your ships, and you could just basically do what Brad did, or just take 2 vultures out right away.
Right.
The game can swing in your favor, because then if I can't take a ship out in return,
yep,
you're way ahead then.
Yeah, but I didn't range control correctly. I miscounted and.
Well, those vultures are hard to judge if I'm just gonna 5 forward or just 2 forward and barrel roll backwards.
Yeah, and you did hear me say like, "Oh, I thought you were gonna do the 5 here. I thought you were gonna zoom it." And
no, we were waiting. Like you said, I was waiting for you to come out of that gap. Just waiting for you. Eventually it'll turn into the Estrid field.
Yeah. So,
did you think any about putting your partisan there and then putting the rest of your ships a little ways off, let them joust your partisan, and then flanking with others? Or
so that's the problem is that didn't come through my head until I already had all my ships down and went, wait, I probably shouldn't have done this. And we're just like looking at my options and was like, this is bad. This is all bad. So, I mean, in hindsight, yeah, I should have definitely, left the partisan there and say, hey, I'll bring some of the other ships around the other side, especially the X-Wings have boost now. I'll be able to get around a little bit faster. And no, mistakes were made. And then, I would have been able to give Will a choice, which if I'm giving Will choices, if he's splitting up that swarm, I think I start to have the advantage starts to go to me because now he's losing multiple calculates, assuming that he splits up the swarm and stuff like that. Like I have choices.
Yeah, never split the swarm. Stay together. Stay range through of Watt as much as possible. Actually, I wanted to before we move on from our bat repping or whatever. I was trying to think about who witnessed what I was flying at the end of first edition, and it was actually you, Dion. You and Marcel were 2 of the people that I played at Grognak.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember our game at Grognak? I think he had double Reaper Soontir because some dude won a nationals with it or something. Did okay with it.
Did okay with it, yeah.
Do you remember that?
What were you playing? Nah, man, I don't even remember what I had for lunch. Remind me.
That's fair. All right. Well, I have a weird thing. Like I can't remember like somebody's name I met today, but I can remember every upgrade on a list from like 2 years ago. But I took to Grognak Store Championship 7 Z95s. I had 4 cruise missiles and 3 tracers.
I remember now. Yes.
Yeah, and the turn down for what shell swarm felt very much like that, except for we could share calculates and barrel roll and still shoot missiles.
Yeah, that barrel roll calculates so good. It's so good.
They need something, because that's...
I mean, the Tiny Mind Link's also pretty good.
Whoa, okay.
Don't tell people that's what it is.
It's kind of mind link. I definitely like did a couple things of like, okay, Vulture, you're not going to get a shot, but you're holding on to the Kraken calculate, and you just need to get another calculate and be at range 1 of everybody else, so that they can do all the crazy red moves and bumps and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, as long as you have like, at least 1 calculate per droid out there, you're doing all right.
Yeah, I watched some of your games, Will, and I really liked how you did that. It's like any of your ships could turn into a support ship, which makes the list really powerful to me.
Yeah, because not only are they supporting their friends, they're also giving rerolls to Watt as well.
Yep.
Pretty good.
It's disgusting. That's really good.
I mean, it
can die. It can die, but if you're bad like me and you sit all your ships in front of it and badly range control, you have like 1 ship to 2 ships in front of it, your ships are going to die. This is what we learn.
It's just a lawnmower of taking all those long range shots. So then we all just close in for close range. Oof.
Oh yeah,
very good. I did blow somebody's mind when I had like a bunch of my ships still had Kraken calculates, right? So I was like, all right, well, I'll target lock you. And the dude was like, Clanker's got target lock?
Yes.
I was like, yeah, I guess they do. I'm pretty good. Better than TIE fighters.
Alrighty. So the next topic we want to hit here is the hyperspace format update, which was legal for this past weekend. If you hadn't heard, the generic upgrades, barrage rockets, jamming beam, and tractor beam are hyperspace legal. For the Rebel Alliance, we got all the B-Wing pilots, all the A-Wing pilots, all the U-Wing pilots, Baze Malbus crew, Cassian Andor crew. For the Galactic Empire, the TIE Interceptor, the TIE Bomber, Sienna Ree, and Darth Vader crew. For Scum and Villainy, the Z-95 and the Star Viper, as well as the Virago title and the Dengar Gunner card, and for First Order, the Biohexacrypt codes. So my question, gentlemen, is we have coming up, which we're going to talk about Adepticon, but we have a lot of hyperspace events rolling here. In this first week, I think people were mostly excited about the new waves, and that's the new stuff that we saw. I know Francois brought Soontir, but other than that, I really didn't see any of these other ships matter yet in any of the lists. So Justin, I want to start with you. What do you think from this new stuff is going to start creeping towards success in hyperspace?
So when you say creeping towards success, I mean, my first answer was going to be the B-Wings, but I think those have already been pretty successful and extended.
Yep.
I don't know if that really classifies. I would maybe look at the Star Viper, specifically Guri. I think Scum and Villainy needs quite a bit of help, and I think Guri could actually be that help. So you could look at running like a Boba Fett Guri and something list, or you could even start looking at your aces in Scum and Villainy with like your Fenrir, Old Terrak, and Guri. It's going to require some perfect flying, but I think those are 3 highly capable ships that can really challenge some of the Empire aces, or even challenge some of the First Order and Resistance aces. So I think you could see some good things from that. And I guess I really enjoy flying Guri. I just haven't had time to get any Scum and Villainy on the table lately. I'm really enjoying flying some of the other factions. But I think that's where I would probably look. The next place is maybe Soontir. Obviously, you mentioned we saw Soontir already on the table, and again, he's doing really well in extended. I think he'll continue to excel in hyperspace in a more limited format where he can have an easier time arc dodging.
Oh yeah, like wait, all these other things aren't in the game? I play.
Pretty much.
Will, what do you think?
Yeah, I want to say the TIE bomber because they brought in barrage rockets with the TIE bomber. I mean, you got quite a bit of a points increase in January, but I think it's still like a kind of like the workhorse jouster for the Empire right now.
You can still fit 5 of those with barrage rockets, and one of them being Jonas. That still fits.
Yeah, was that that's Elliot's, right?
Yeah, Elliot. That's Elliot's jam.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that's good, but can you compare that to the 5 Y-Wings, and how do we think that would do? Or can you compare it to like a mini swarm or an actual TIE swarm? And if you're doing 3 bombers, one being Jonas and like a Vader, I still think Vader and a mini swarm is better than the 3 bombers. So I would say it's situational.
I mean, the bombers versus Y-Wing is just going to be range control. Those barrages will just take a Y-Wing off the board at range 3.
Mm-hmm.
But at like in range 2 engagements or even range 1 engagements, the Y-Wings are going to win out. That might be the biggest problem with the Scimitar being the most popular bomber, is that it's only initiative 2.
Yep.
And if you're trying for that efficiency, you can't really increase the pilot skill because you're trying to get most out of its shots.
Agreed.
I'm gonna throw a special call out to Tractor Beam.
Okay.
We had really limited ways of tractor beaming in hyperspace before. I think you just had Petty Officer Thanison in the Upsilon
and the
Foreman Proach.
Yeah.
And both of them were like super conditional, and you can choose to tractor somebody like how the tugboats where you're tractored now. I think that's going to open up a lot for cannon carriers, but I'm trying to think actually off the top of my head. It's just the Fire Spray and B-Wing who can hold cannons.
Yeah, that's
T-70.
You could do
and Upsilons.
But I think here's the thing though, right? All those platforms, like if they can shoot a tractor beam, like why are you not shooting your normal dice and trying to do damage?
I think that's where we can go to Kalen Wong's winning squad from the Toronto Sister Open. He had a tractor beam on a B-Wing because it was shooting first.
Truth.
Could pull that ship off a blocking Z95 and then so many more shots and do so much more damage because of the reduced agility. So I definitely think that's probably the best place for that tractor beam is on a B-Wing and Rebels. I think the other carriers that you mentioned, I don't really know if there's a good fit for a tractor beam in my opinion.
Maybe like a blue X-Wing for resistance being paired up with like a bunch of A-Wings. But I don't
A-Wings with heroic and optics.
There you go.
I think you can get 4. If my math, I think you can get 4 and then 1 tractor beam T-70, which could be interesting. But we'll see. I always thought tractor beam was going to be like the go-to upgrade for Poe.
Why'd you think that?
Well, like a 200-point Poe, right? Like not an actual 200-point Poe, but like a Poe in a 200-point list.
Right.
You're most likely your opponent's like forced to give you first player then.
Right.
Which means you could tractor beam them their Poe onto a rock.
Ah, that's that next level thinking. I like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean you're double modifying it. I see what you're saying, but like sometimes, man, like one good tractor beam on a ship at range 3 to put it onto a rock could mess it up for the next couple turns because now it has to hit the rock coming off of it, and that's when you hammer it in with a Poe range 1.
Can we talk about the other kind of the thing that's in the back of the room where tractor beams don't really want to see gas clouds? And gas clouds, I think now are going to be a big thing.
Yeah,
Ooh,
that's
true.
very true. Like, I just lost my action, yet people can still shoot on them. Like, I brought the gas clouds just to experience them in a bunch of games. And there was definitely times where it's like, man, I wish I would have brought rocks because this would have punished my opponent way more than it punished me. You know?
Yeah, that's exactly how I felt. Kayla, when I played her, she had brought gas clouds for her A-wings.
Yeah.
And she was like, I put like, geez, probably like every single one of my vultures hit this one gas cloud. But between Kraken and like bumping, like self-bumping or doing Talon rolls, I was making it so like there was no penalty for doing that, like none whatsoever. And I don't know, I'm interested in your guys' opinions, but I personally, well, I think they're the best obstacle. I'm refusing to use them. I'm gonna start the gas cloud boycott because I just don't think that they're good for the game. They don't do enough.
I would agree there. I don't think they're good for the game either. I do think that there will eventually be a time when the community figures out what situations they're good in. I do think that they're good when you're flying a swarm. It's good to bring them just because as a swarm you want to stay in that formation. I guess specifically I'm talking about like a TIE swarm. A TIE swarm really wants to stay in that formation above all else. So I could see them bringing them. Then do you counter the meta because you think your opponent's going to bring out gas clouds, so you actually bring rocks? So I think it's going to be some of that interesting back and forth play. But now, initially, I think everybody's going to bring gas clouds just because they're easy.
I wonder if FFG would ever be willing to change the effect of gas cloud to be like, you know what? Actually, now they give strain, something like that, or now you have to roll damage.
I think if you just couldn't shoot on them, it would be a huge difference. Because currently you could just like park on them. Who cares? K-turn right onto it. Doesn't matter.
I think with the new format of how they design the game and that living rules reference, they definitely have the capability to do it and have no real impact on the game because they don't have any printed documents except for, I guess, those pamphlets that came in the Wave 3 stuff. But I don't really know if those are considered core components of the game. The rules reference is that core component that's easily changeable.
Right, and in those reference materials, it does reference the rules reference. Like that's so they could always change it if they want to. So we'll see there. I think this is a perfect transition to start talking about the Adepticon System Open. It's happening March 29th and 30th. That's this Friday and Saturday. There's also going to be some stuff going on Thursday. FFG has a press conference that we're going to be at, as well as there's going to be some pods going. I'm hoping to get a couple games in there because I'm going to be busy casting for you guys on Friday and Saturday. Now, we know that the new factions are going to be legal for the hyperspace qualifier that's happening on Saturday for people who don't make the cut. But the new stuff is not legal for the main event, the extended event, and that includes the gas clouds. Includes everything in those boxes. Now, a lot of people have been messaging me asking, Dion, what do you think we're going to see? I don't know. When was the last System Open? Obviously, I was there. This was now three
there was
weeks ago?
one in the Netherlands.
There you go.
Not too long ago.
Netherlands, a couple weeks ago. But then here in the United States, we had one a couple weeks back. I mean, and I think we're kind of in a spot where things are still evolving. You know, people are still trying to figure out what is the best. We just recently had those adjustments in the points, and we know that. I guess I'm curious to know, with the new factions coming out, has that shifted maybe some people's focus? And with the hyperspace trials going on and that being people's focus, trying to get these dice, if maybe we're going to see a higher percentage of hyperspace lists in extended because that's what people have been practicing? And what do you guys think?
I think a lot of people, to what you're saying, it's the reason why First Order and Resistance were so attractive at first, because as long as you didn't bring any crazy weapons, like advanced proton torpedoes or something like that, your list was legal in both formats then. Whether you're like Kylo or Poe or whatever. And I think that was a big draw for people, that they didn't have to choose, like, this is my extended list and this is my hyperspace list. They could have just one list to focus in and practice it down on. Mm-hmm. So I would very much expect those two factions specifically to be out in full force at Adepticon. Yeah, whether it's like Poe and 3As or Resistance 5s, gain even more traction. Just Poe 9 and Lulu, still a very powerful squad, even in extended.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah, I guess I just have a hard time believing that there won't be the extended stuff there, just because there is a segment of the community that really enjoys flying extended. But I think some of your, say, more competitive players, I wouldn't be surprised if they're running hyperspace lists, just because that's what they've been practicing with and that's what they have the most experience with. So they potentially think it'll give them the biggest opportunity to win. Like I said, myself, I will be playing, and I do want to give a shout out to my local group because they always help me a ton, and I'm a big waffler. For me, I think it's going to be like a last minute decision on, I fly enough stuff that I hope I can just pick something up and do well with it.
Yeah, I mean, so I know, like, if I was playing in the open, and I'm not, so I have no dog in the race except for my boys who are all playing. But I'll tell you, I would probably play Quad Phantoms. Why, Dion? Why would you play Quad Phantoms? It's still good. It's something I've practiced, and it's competitive. That's it. And you know what's a list that we haven't seen lately, but I think it's still really good, is Redline, Soontir, and Brain Fart, and Whisper. That's still really good, and you can still get a pretty aggressive bid if you take a couple pieces out. At least thinking about Empire wise, I'm looking over here at my shelf. I mean, Rebels are.
I guess for you guys is, with that list you just mentioned, the Redline, Whisper, Soontir, how can that hang with Rebel Beef? How can that hang with some of the more swarmy lists?
And that's what I was about to hit on this here. But I think the biggest meta monster is the Rebel Beef, right? You got the two biggest tools that they got lowered in points here is the Veteran Turret Gunner for those Y-Wings and Leia. Oh my goodness. Leia, super good. I mean, I'm curious to see how many people are willing to fly something like Kaylin Wong did in Toronto. Because
I'm thinking about it.
That list is so good. Well, I'll tell you this. I'll be, we can talk about it now. For this weekend, when I saw the B-Wing, the B-Wing was legal for Rebels, and I saw that the Z95 was legal for Scum in hyperspace, my brain had a glitch, and I was like, wait, Z95s are legal? That means I can fly them in Rebels? And I immediately put together Kaylin's list. Immediately. And then wait a second. That's just Scum, right? I was like, yeah, okay. It's just Scum. So, that Rebel Beef, it's super good. You have so many bodies. But I think it comes down, like, let's talk about flying, what is it, 5 to 7 ships. Having the mental capacity to fly that many ships. It's not easy. There's a lot of people in the community who are only used to flying 3, 4 is a stretch for them. How do you, if you're a player thinking about trying to fly 5+ ships, how do I adapt? What are some things I need to start doing besides getting it on the table? How do I think about it differently?
I think that deployment is actually a lot more impactful for your game. In fact, you could just lose right on deployment. In fact, you were just talking about our game where you may or may not have just lost on deployment. And the swarms, I would say the rebel swarms are a little bit different than, say, an Imperial swarm, especially TIE fighters. You're basically only setting like one maneuver for the whole swarm, if not like maybe like, 2 bank and 3 bank, but they're both basically doing the same thing. And that would be my tips, is know like 2 or 3 different deployments for your list, and keep them doing the same maneuvers so that they stay together, and it's less brain power. Like, like your bandwidth or processing power, if you're a computer, it's just less to factor in if you're thinking about all your ships as just kind of one big ship, setting one dial.
One beach.
And once you do those 2 things, then you only had to think about like range control, and you can just let the rest of the stuff kind of figure itself out. But I would definitely put deployment as first, because you could really, really screw up your swarm by deploying it wrong.
So I have always heard that swarms are definitely more taxing to fly, and I haven't really flown a ton myself, but maybe where my head is, and this is just my own opinion, but I think Will said a swarm can be seen as like one block or one dial, and you have a lot of room for, say, flexibility and a lot of room to maybe make mistakes there. But if you're flying like an AC list, one mistake and you can almost lose. So I guess for me, my head's like, if you're flying aces, it's pretty taxing too, because you need to make sure you don't make that one mistake and can just outright lose a game. So I guess each archetype has different ways that it taxes your brain, and aces can just be stressful. I know, okay, I'm going to make this move. Is it going to be a good one, or is it going to be a bad one? That can really wear you down too.
Oh yeah. And then also, if you're starting to fly more of those ships, Will was kind of talking about understanding where the ships put you, because one thing that can eat you up when you're flying a swarm is if you don't understand how the templates move your ships relative to each other in the type of formation that you're in, and you start bumping, and you bump, let's see, in that initial engagement, and all of a sudden you started like a blockchain for yourself, and now only your person in the front has done an action, you're going to be sad. You're going to be really sad.
At next round, the guy behind him's 5 degrees off. The guy behind him's another 5 degrees off. So now you can't go back into where you were because everybody's off just a little bit.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. So just if you're planning on doing rebels, like a rebel swarm, I would suggest practicing that. And also understanding that, like, when people talk about formation flying, that takes that's a whole. We're not going to take time and break down formation flying. We could do that in videos, but essentially, you have a couple of different ways to do it, right? So you have block formations, different types where, you're in a square or a diamond pattern, and you know where everything lands. There's also loose formations where you're, you have a little bit more space. You don't necessarily have like abilities that necessarily need a certain range band, but you're trying to keep, a more focused cone of danger in front of you, and you're kind of keeping your ships together. And then you have, a net type list where you spread your ships out across and you slowly try to wrap around your opponent with one side flanking and the other side coming a little bit slower. There's a few different ways to really approach flying a swarm, and trying to figure out which way is going to be best for what you put together is important. We'll talk more about that in the future. But yeah, I'm excited to see what comes out of Adepticon, because at least when it comes to documented lists, I took a quick look here on List Fortress, and the last open that we have documented fully is Canada. It was a Canadian system open, which is now almost a month ago. So there's been a lot of time for things to evolve.
Was that right after the points changed?
Yes.
Is that what that was?
Yes.
Okay. Yep, that's when Leia got super, not like popular, but like we saw Leia in play in a major competition. That's right.
Oh, yeah, we did. So we'll see what happens there and what comes out. I'm really excited about that. Before we get off of Adepticon, though, I do want to take a second and talk about some of the extra things that are happening. If you're a patron, you have until tomorrow, being Wednesday at 3 p.m., to sign up for the Gold Squadron Podcast Pizza Party. Okay? This is happening. So that's going to be Friday night after Swiss. I set it at 8 o'clock, but it's 8 o'clock with like about 8 o'clock. That's when the pizza will be delivered. And you get half a pizza, essentially, 4 slices to yourself. We're going to do raffles, including some of the things you might have been seeing me, if you're watching at home, playing with some things in this area. We got some damaged deck holders from Crafted Storage we're going to be giving away. We have some cards. We have some templates. And we also have some expansions, Wave 3 expansions that we're going to be giving away. We got a Scimitar, and we got a Guardians of the Republic plaque we're going to be giving away. And that's exclusive for our patrons, and it's absolutely free. All you got to do is show up and sign up. If you don't sign up, I won't know that you're coming, and then I won't be able to prepare things and stuff. So, super excited for that. Justin, you going to get your pizza?
I have a question.
Yep, I'm definitely coming.
Yes, Will.
Looking forward to it. It's going to be fun.
What's your question, Will?
Oh, sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt. Where is this?
So
we're just doing it in the game hall?
We're just doing it in the game hall. That's it.
All right, sounds great, dude.
Yeah.
What was it? Steven wanted us to. I mean, he didn't say these words, but I'm taking what I'm paraphrasing what he said. He wanted us to set up a Gold Squadron table and raise a flag and do all the things for our like team or whatever.
Yeah. So this is a way to show some unity in the X-Wing community, as well as just give back to our patrons, serve you guys a little bit. There have been a couple people asking, like, well, if I'm coming to Adepticon, I'm not a patron, can I participate? I need to make sure I take care of the patrons first, see where that is, and the biggest thing for me is figuring out payment. If people want to pay in for the pizza, like how to get that done, how to efficiently mark that, because I don't want to spend a bunch of time like going through lists and stuff like that. Like I'm already gonna have to. There's already logistics. So
what's the last day that they can sign up and be a Patreon? Or
that'd be Wednesday at 3 o'clock. So Wednesday at 3:29. Okay, and then you sign up for the pizza party by 3. Sorry, I said that backwards. 2:59 and 3 o'clock. Just right away, guys. If you want your free pizza, maybe that's what I'm saying. You know what? You want free pizza? Sign up to be a patron. You get swag and free pizza. Alrighty. And that's happening Friday night. Now, here is the topic I want to spend a little bit more time on. This is literally all opinion-based. We'll hit you with the facts first, and then I want to talk about it. So, FFG, in one of their posts that they posted today, had this on their post. It said, as further evidence of how the Force binds the galaxy together and how X-Wing is all one game, we are pleased to announce that the 2019 X-Wing World Championship will use the game's extended game mode. At the game's highest level, you'll be free to explore all of the galaxy's possibilities. Of course, it's worth noting that the newer players who master the game's hyperspace game mode and win a hyperspace trial will find all of their ships, pilots, and upgrades legal within the extended game mode too, meaning all of the work they've done to learn to fly their ships with championship level precision will continue to pay off along their quest to conquer the galaxy's greatest rivals. So the question is here, we know that Worlds is now officially going to be an extended event. Good, bad, mixed feelings. What do you think? We'll start with you, Will.
The pros for it being extended. Well, a lot of the people going to Worlds did get their invites through System Opens that were extended. Mm-hmm. It shows the wealth of ships and list available. or the potential for them, anyways. I guess that's it. I mean, what other pros are there?
So
I can't think of that.
I know it's a little bit tough, right?
That's the only two. That's the only two things I could think of that are like, all right, those are for sure good things.
So
good reasons.
I'll start by saying I have mixed feelings about this. So there's a side of the community that says very loudly, listen, I bought all these ships in first edition and I want to be able to play with whichever ones I feel like it. Totally valid point. I understand that. That's fine. We fully know that the extended format is not as balanced as the hyperspace format. Why? Well, because there's a lot more things, and the hyperspace format is just a little easier to balance. You can adjust things slowly. We're bringing product in slowly. It's a little bit easier there. It's the World Championship. Maybe should it be more challenging? Yes. I'm not going to go too much into it yet. I want to give Justin an opportunity to kind of give his thoughts before I dig too far in.
Yeah, I guess honestly at this point I really don't know what I think about it. I myself enjoy extended game mode. I enjoy the hyperspace game mode. They're definitely different things, though. Like you said, hyperspace seems to be more balanced and it seems to be more accessible. But if we're talking about accessibility, Worlds isn't exactly something that's going to be accessible because you have to either win a hyperspace trial or do really well at a system open. So if we're, I guess, using accessibility as something that we're really concerned about, then it's maybe not exactly what the World Championship will be. So I guess I would say I'm not against it, but I'm not for it. So I don't have a strong opinion right now. I guess I'm sure as I think through it more, and maybe I'll develop one, but at this point I don't have one.
Up until October, once the World Championships are going to be October, if you're not aware. One of the things that we're going to have a few more system opens, which are extended. We're going to start to see some of the best extended lists that are going to be a part of the October Worlds. Assuming there's not going to be a points change, but looking at how everything falls, probably won't happen. Barring any type of change, the question we have to ask is, when we take these best extended lists, how do they pair up against the best hyperspace lists? And I think, like you were talking about there, Justin, accessibility. Players who are just coming into the game, who I think, personally, are the people we need to try to cater to the most as a community. Why? Because in order for this game to grow, we need new blood. We need new people playing all the time. Yes, some of the first edition stuff is easy to find. You know, you can find TIE bombers on Amazon for like $7. Super cheap. Easy. I guess now they're hyperspace legal. But some of these packs are really hard to find or really, really expensive. Now, I know, for instance, that the Alpha Class Star Wing is not super competitive in the extended format, but let's say FFG changes points. Those things right now, people are selling them for like $50 each for one model because they're out of print. That's just something that it bothers me, in the sense that not everybody has the opportunity to even buy what might be good. Now, we don't know what's going to be there, but that does concern me. And not everybody has access to a friend that has all the things, or is comfortable asking that, or like, it's just, that's something I'm a little bit worried about. We'll have to see as it grows. But if we're just thinking about the competitive game and we're not worried about community growth, that's probably the right thing to do. In the sense that if the point is to try to find the best X-Wing player, all-around X-Wing player, everything in the playing field has to be there, and see who has, you know, who can fly the best, be the most lucky, and get the best matchups at Worlds. It's I have a mixed bag of emotion. You see, I'm going back and forth with this because I don't think there is a right answer. There's going to be some very passionate people on both sides. But if I had to, kind of give you guys where I am, I'm 60%. I wish it was hyperspace, or somehow hyperspace was integrated with it in some type of fashion. And then 40% like, hey, I get it, why there would be extended in there. But we'll have to see how it affects things and how the community reacts. And again, taking a look at when we get more system open data, we have more of these events, and we start understanding what is the best things in extended. How do they stack up to those people who only have access to hyperspace? Because I guess here's something else. How many people? I'd like to see the numbers of how many total hyperspace trials there are. Figure out how many regional winners we're going to have. How many people playing extended are going to get invites to Worlds, and how many people playing hyperspace will get invites to Worlds. I think that'd be a really interesting number to figure out.
Did you also mention, so there's the system open hyperspace qualifiers?
Yes.
So if you're thinking about just system open, the main event, there's 10 of them, 15 of them. That's going to be maybe 150 folks. Whereas hyperspace trials, I'd imagine there's going to be more than 150
across the world,
combined with the hyperspace qualifiers from system opens and the undefeateds from that. I'm just making that up, but that's where my head is.
Yeah, my spitball estimate, I would say it would be about even, like half and half. Probably 7 trials per open. That makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, we'll
where my head is too. Well.
Yep. So we'll see. Like, that's all we can really do is kind of see how it shakes out, and I think we won't know how the community will take it until after Worlds, right? Like, that's the truth. Like, all of this ends up being hindsight is 2020, because if it goes absolutely terrible and the reaction from the community is really, really bad after Worlds happens, then it was a terrible idea. But if nothing happens,
no, I think you hit the nail on the head that the hyperspace format is to keep like local communities playing and gain players through your local community, and on the world stage, extended is just fine. So I personally prefer hyperspace. I do miss some of the fun scum ships flying around, but I think it's the better of the two formats, even if it is slightly limited. But I say that with minimal experience with the newly released ships and cards we just mentioned not that long ago.
Yep. So we'll see how that all shakes out. And if you guys haven't seen, we started putting on a new video series called This Week in X-Wing, where we just hit on a lot of the main points that happened in a week. If you haven't seen that on our YouTube channel, go ahead and check that out. Before we go too far, I want to pull up something that people have been asking me for, because I keep forgetting about it, and that is our friend Skippy and his upgrade card. Yes, Skippy, I understand. Yes, I know you're upset because I kept forgetting. I understand. Let's talk about what our Skippy the upgrade card ability is going to be, okay? Now, this is a rough draft. It's still has some tweaking to do. I was talking over with a couple of people, and we're going to tweak a little bit, but it's currently something along these lines, okay? So you got the front side. It's a non-recurring force charge. Non-recurring, sorry, words are hard today. It adds the red calculate token, and it says setup. Equip this card face up if playing a casual game and your opponent agrees to let you use this card. Period. After you perform a calculate action, you must receive After you perform a calculate action, assign yourself an additional stress token. Okay? That's sentence 1. Sentence 2. When defending, you may spend 1 force charge to change one of your attacker's crit results to a hit result. If you spend a force charge, you must flip over this card, and on the back, we'll have some flavor text. We'll decide how many points it is. Again, it's just for casual play, and the reason the backside doesn't have anything is so that if you're at a real event and you want Skippy to hang out with you for your event, he can, because he literally does nothing if you're not playing a casual event. So super excited about that. Thank you to everybody who did submit ones to kind of inspire what's going on there. And super excited to get those printed out here in the future and get those out to our patrons, and also just hand them out at events and just have a good time with that. Before I get into the list of the week, which I do need to pull up here, you have any shout outs, Justin, from this weekend? Anything that comes to mind? Anything you want to talk about? The floor is yours.
Sweet. Thanks, Dion. I think the shout outs that I want to give are first to my local Quad City X-Wing group. We have a pretty core group of, I'd say, 6 to 8 guys that are attending the league night and playing pretty regularly, and it's definitely a group that we're working to grow. The next shout out I would want to give is shout out to the Des Moines X-Wing group. I'm now a remote member of the group, unfortunately, I had to move away from Des Moines, but it's definitely a great group of guys that I'm looking forward to hanging out with at Adepticon, as we're all meeting up there and going to play a bunch of X-Wing and some other games. And then the last shout out I'll give is to Ryan, the tournament organizer for the Cedar Rapids Hyperspace Trial. I think the tournament went pretty well. I'd say that our biggest disappointment was we were hoping for a little bit more people to show up. We were, I'll say, expecting to cap out the tournament at 64, but I think Adepticon kind of hit us with reducing our numbers because of the proximity and just folks losing out on life points. But again, overall, I thought the tournament went really well, and hopefully we can do it again.
Yeah, agreed. I mean, you got 10 people from Chicago to come out. So I think with the positive word, and big shout out to Ryan, and he gave me the shirt, the Moon Shadow Squadron. He was doing a great thing. He also was able to roll in a fundraiser for his charity that he started for raising awareness and research for diabetes and things like that. Like it was a cool thing he's doing, and I'm looking forward to making it out there again. What I want to hit up next is our list of the week. So our list of the week comes from our Discord. So if you haven't joined our Discord and you're watching live, go ahead, !Discord. You can click on the link. Anybody can join. And if you're a patron, go ahead and link your Patreon to Discord. That way you get your role assigned there. That gives you access to some special rooms. But anybody can join our Discord. And if you're watching in the future or listening on your phone, on your podcast app, go ahead. The link's in the description. Join our Discord channel. This comes from Spinacoli. And he says, triple silencers is something I'm wanting to try. Probably not truly competitive, but it just sounds fun. Any thoughts? So this is Blackout with Trick Shot and Cluster Missiles, Recoil with Predator and Proton Rockets, and a First Order Test Pilot with Fanatical, sitting at 199 points. Will, take it away. Lead me, guide me.
I'm really, I see all the synergies. Blackout has 2 things that really synergize with his ability, Trick Shot and Cluster Missiles, especially if you're getting Blackout's ability and Trick Shot on both Cluster Missiles. That's -1 agility for them, and you get 2 4-dice attacks. Pretty good. Recoil, same thing. Giving him abilities that trigger with his pilot ability. Lets him change bullseye, restrictions into just range 1 restrictions, which is Predator and Proton Rockets there. And then Fanatical is just really good on the 2 shielded silencers. So that's basically an auto include on any first order test pilot. The only thing I could say is that I don't trust the munitions. The fact that Predator and Proton Rockets don't work together is a huge downside. I'm pretty sure Predator work on munitions.
Primary attack only.
No, don't like it. So I think the first things to be dropped are the munitions. And I think I would favor... well, can you squeeze Kylo in there with keeping Trickshot and Predator? Squeeze him in?
Nope. Takes us to 103.
So you'd have to run all of them naked, which I would not do. So go back to the first order test pilot Fanatical there. And I think I would be looking at putting on some advanced optics or pattern analyzers. Justin, you fly a lot of silencers. What's your go-to tech?
I would say my go-to tech definitely is pattern analyzer now. I mostly fly Kylo. I haven't really flown any of the other named pilots, and Kylo is a big fan of keeping his dial wide open and having the ability to do that either one hard or that sloop and using pattern analyzer, or sorry, not sloop, but Talon Rope, but using pattern analyzer and snagging a target lock beforehand.
Well, getting all those pattern analyzers on each of those ships brings us exactly to 200 points.
Yeah, I definitely like that a lot better. And I was myself thinking about Blackout trying to cluster missile there. It's like he'll be up for a real bad time if he target locks and doesn't have a defensive mod. He'll poof real fast.
But I got my shot off. Yes. It's that balancing act constantly. Well, thank you.
It's the just to know with the pattern analyzers, I think the general strategy of silencers, their best maneuver is the 5 forward. But with a pattern analyzer, it lets you, they have a 2 or 3 Talon? 3 Talon, I believe.
3, yeah.
So instead of having to hard 1 boost, you can 3 Talon boost. And I think it just turns you around a lot easier when you need to go from like on the run to trying to cut somebody off and get back into the fight.
The other thing that you can do that's really, really cheeky is you can actually do a Talon roll and then do 2 actions and double stress yourself. But if you really need to dodge that arc, you have that flexibility, which is really nice.
Yeah, if you're not going to survive the round, that second stress doesn't mean a lot.
Exactly.
There you go. So thank you so much to Spicoli for submitting that list. Before we leave you guys here, I want to say thank you so much to Justin and Will for joining us. Both you gentlemen are going to be at Adepticon, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yep, looking forward to it.
All right, so if you're going to be at Adepticon, make sure you come, shout us out, give us high fives. We got brand new stickers that feature the logo that we have on our new t-shirts. So make sure you get you guys self some of those. We got some Gold Squadron paint cast stickers. We'll have some swag that we're hanging out. I'm unofficially dubbing, Adepticon is the system open of the Gold Squadron podcast, guys. Okay? I'm just claiming it. It's ours. I'm done. It's mine. It's ours. It's the Gold Squadron system open. So enjoy. Should be a good time. And if you've never been to a major event like this, make sure you don't just sit there by yourself, man. Just come, talk, hang out. Most of the people in the X-Men community are fantastic. And if you are worried about being social, come talk to me. I'll introduce you to some people, and we'll have a good time. Will,
one more shout out quick before
Yeah.
One other thing I just remembered is I do want to give a shout out also to the Vassal League. So if you're, I'll say, a more remote player, or you're in a play group that's not very big, if you want to get better competitively, I would highly recommend joining that Vassal League. For me, it's been a real key in my toolbox for being able to just grow as a competitive player get more games in against highly competitive folks. So again, join that Vassal League or get on Vassal and get games in with some highly skilled players.
Fantastic. Will, anything do you want to say before we close out?
So actually, if you don't know, Adepticon has treated me pretty good the last couple of years.
Two-time world champion. Oh, sorry, Hoth Open champion, Adepticon champion, whatever you want to call it.
So I am unfortunately not as prepared as I have been. Well, I guess I really wasn't prepared very much the first year, but I felt very prepared last year. I had a very good list that I'd been running, advocating. It warmed my heart when people were stealing it. It was one of my favorite things of all time. It was to see people like stealing the list I liked. But so I'm a little bit unsure of going into Adepticon this year. Just kind of rely on my raw natural ability, flying whatever list I choose. But I have a personal goal, and this might help out some other people who, maybe not help is not the right word, but give motivation to some other people. And I have told myself that I have to quit smoking cigarettes. It's a terrible habit. I know it's terrible, but I do it because I'm dumb. But if I cannot get my invite, I lowered it down. I originally said if I can't win, I don't get to smoke cigarettes anymore. Okay. But I backed down from that and said that if I can get my invite, then I can keep smoking cigarettes. What do you think? Do I have to raise it back all the way up to the win, or can I settle for just the invite?
Well, see,
I vote for win.
Man, dude, I love you. I love you so much that I want to make it. I want to make it win. Because
all right, that's fair.
Because I care about you, man.
Like, if I could. All right, that's fair. That's all right. I tried to back down from it, but that's understandable.
Right.
So yeah, if I cannot win Adepticon for the third year in a row, I will have to stop smoking cigarettes, no longer buy them, and I have to start encouraging other people to do the same as well.
There you go.
I will tear in that rarest of event. That I win.
ISO fans throwing down a challenge for you, Will.
Okay, I'll take challenges.
He said if he. Oh, hold up. Wait, I gotta. He said.
Oh, ISO fan.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Now, all right. Jeez. Okay.
Yeah, he said if he can stop smoking, I'll do something special for the channel.
Now you're putting real pressure on me because now I had to be honest because I used to be a serious bummer of like. Not like bummer, like negative, but like not buy cigarettes. But if I'm hanging out with people who do smoke them, I would just like, you got to give me one because I don't buy them, which is not even a good practice. That's not quitting. Don't fool yourselves, everybody.
Mm-hmm.
How long do I have to quit for?
Forever. Stop smoking, Will. It's bad for you. I don't ever say anything because that's not my job.
I know it's bad for me. I mean, you're not telling me new information.
I need my Wookiee to be around for a long time. Okay.
All right. Okay. If I win though, you gotta do whatever it is though. Anyways. It's the only I get what do I want to say? Well, this is where I was trying to relate it to other people too. Of like everybody needs a personal goal. You need to have a short and long term goal.
Yep.
Always like a high and a low. You know what I mean? Most of the times for tournaments, my low goal is just to make cut. It's always a reasonable goal, you know. And then a high goal is always to win. So That's what we'll do. I will we'll put it on stream. I'll snap every cigarette that I have in my pocket if I don't win. Then
he just
what
said,
did ISO fan say, or is he just being mysterious?
No, he just said, I'll donate enough money to the channel to equal 100 subs.
I don't know how much that is, but that sounds like a lot.
That's a lot of money. That's like $600.
Okay, well, ISO fan, I'll keep you updated then.
All right.
I really got to get the win now. Jeez.
Yep. All righty. Well, I guess that's where we stop. Thank you for joining, everybody. See you guys at Adepticon. For everybody here, for Justin and for Will, my name's Dio Morales. Gold Squadron out.